welcome to our weekly Christ in Our Neighborhood conversation where Joyce and I reflect on Sunday's Gospel with Bishop John. Everything you need to do this with family and friends is on the Diocese of Phoenix website in the Christ in Our Neighborhood section. Welcome back, Bishop.
It's always great to see the two of you, Jen and Joyce. It's hard to believe we're gearing up in a matter of a few weeks for Lent. We just got through with Christmas. It's hard to believe.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this week we're going to hear from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6, verses 27 to 38. So, Bishop, would you like to start us off with a reflection?
Sure. In our Gospel, Jesus continues to speak to his disciples in his Sermon on the Plain. Jesus does not speak from upon a mountain. He speaks on a level plain, on our level. On this same level, Jesus would do what he commands us to do. And what does he command?
In this case, Jesus commands love of enemy, as he would forgive us and all who nailed him to the cross. He commands us to love our persecutors. Why? Because even our enemies are blessed by God. As Christians, configured to the image of Christ himself, we must bless those who curse us and even mistreat us.
Blessing our enemies should never be the end of our mission of love. It should be the beginning. For in the beginning, God loved all that he called good, and he never stopped loving us, even when we mistreated him and others. God would not abandon those he called good.
All right, so Bishop, what's this week's question?
Well, there are two. Pick your choice. Are there still people on your list that you have not forgiven? And what keeps you, who claim to be Christian, from asking the Lord to bless them as well? I like this because I find if I'm struggling with somebody, who is they pulled the rug out from under me or cut me to the quick, or they just said something in my head, I was just like, I just had this gnawing thing about that person. I got to let that go. And the best way for me to let that go is not to fix it, not to put all the puzzle pieces together, not to fix him or her or fix me. I simply say to God, God bless your son, your daughter, and I leave it to God and let God do all of that. I could tell you a long story about that, but a very fascinating time when I was in the seminary, and this guy was picking on me, and for whatever reason, I don't know why he was doing it, but he was certainly getting to me, and so I was fed up, and finally one night I just said, God, just bless your son, and I named him, and then I kind of made a mantra of that, and I fell asleep. Well, the next morning, this seminarian came up to me and he goes, you know what, I just want to let you know I apologize for kind of picking on you. And I thought, wow, God, you really answered that prayer. And then his next sentence was, I just also want to let you know that I'm leaving the seminary. And I went, wow, God, you really answered that prayer. Half joking. But yeah, God, you let God be God and let God do the blessing. And sometimes it's best just to get out of the way.
That's a great observation, Bishop. And one thing I've learned about forgiveness is that it doesn't mean that you're saying that whatever this person did or said is okay.
Right.
It doesn't mean that. It means that you're giving up the right to control the situation. You're giving up demanding justice, and I've got to have things. I need that apology. You stop ruminating on it. You stop letting it have power over you. And there's a freedom that comes in doing that is just incomparable.
Right.
And so, like you said, Bishop, letting it go. And the thing that I have found is when I'm having a hard time praying, about a situation, is really praying, sincerely praying for that person as you did, just offering a heartfelt prayer. And if you do that every day, I know, Bishop, God was really right on the case there, but sometimes it takes a while. And then you notice after a while, I'm not mad anymore.
Right.
I'm not mad. I still don't like what happened, but I'm not mad about it anymore. But I think sometimes the hardest person to forget, at least for me, is myself.
Right.
Letting go of perfectionism and recognizing that the sins that I've confessed, I've been forgiven of, and I need to let go.
Right.
So those
Right
are my
on,
thoughts.
Right on, Joyce.
Thank you,
Great.
Bishop.
Yeah. I remember a long time ago, somebody told me about a situation that I was going through with, where I really needed to work through forgiveness. It's like if that person were to meet you at heaven's gate, would you be able to go in? I'm like, okay, well, if that's true, and it really links to the Lord's Prayer, I'll forgive you as you forgive others. I have to.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really, that, and then just not wanting to be a person who walked with bitterness or anger. That's not who I want to be. I really had to learn what forgiveness looked like and how to do it, and that it's a process. It requires, some maintenance, if you will. And so since then, it's freeing. It does, like you said, Joyce, it's like there's a freedom in it. And when you can pray for somebody and put it in God's hands, there's a freedom in that. And then just watch God do the healing in your own heart is what I've experienced. He just healed my own heart. And so since then, I just don't want to hold any grudges. I don't want to be a person who doesn't love freely, who doesn't forgive freely. And so I really try to have that be part of who I am.
Well, I like that because you said that's really you want to be a person who loves freely, and you get that freedom when you do that because that's who you are. You're made in the image and likeness of God, but you're also redeemed, having a share in the likeness of God and His divinity, and so it's not a matter of I must forgive. It's really I get to forgive. I have that privilege of being one with God in His divinity, and as God forgives, I get to forgive. I get to be on His plane, which is really amazing when we think about that.
I got to remember that.
Yeah.
That's what an insight that is, Bishop. Yeah. Thank you. Well, what is this week's task?
Well, make a list of those who have harmed you throughout your life. Can I have a book? But write down their first names and then say the following prayer. Lord, bless blank, your son or daughter, my brother or sister, and repeat that 7 times. Don't just ask God to bless and then get out of the way and let God do the blessing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Thank you, Bishop.
Sure.
Wonderful insights today.
Yep. We'll see you next week. For more information on Christ in Our Neighborhood and resources to start your own group, visit the Christ in Our Neighborhood section at the Diocese of Phoenix website.